Hello, Facebook. It is Suzanne Hart here, and welcome to another session of Fit, Fab, and Fulfill. This is Mindset Mastery with a combination of health, fitness, and wellness mastery. You do not want to miss this interview, this conversation. Gonna wait a minute and give people an opportunity to find us, to jump on. I have a very, very, very special guest with me today, and we are going to be talking about a new book. Yes, a brand new book. So just waiting. Let's see. Oh, I see someone has joined. Hello, Miss Cindy. How are you? Welcome, welcome. And so as people are jumping on, I just want to talk a little bit about how this works. So if you're new to the call, please do leave your name and what your business is in the comments section, because the people who tend to follow are entrepreneurs, business professionals, and this is a great opportunity to network. So definitely leave your name, tell us what you do, where you're from, so that people can connect, and do it whether or not you're listening live or if you're listening to the replay, because people go through and listen and watch those comments. You definitely want to do that. As you join on, I see Fazia. Hello, Miss Fazia. I haven't chatted with you in a while. I owe you a phone call, hon. Hello, Taria. We got the regulars jumping on. So as you come in, once again, let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, and what you do. And we are going to be talking about a new book today. I have the author sitting here with me. I will introduce her in a second. And also, this is about sharing knowledge, and you're going to get some really powerful knowledge today. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to bless some lives. Bless at least 5 lives. That means that if you know someone who health, fitness, and wellness is something that they're challenged with, something that they're committed to, they just love this conversation, you want to bless them. If you know someone who is struggling in this area and they may not know that you are going to share a possible answer, a possible solution with them, definitely reach out and bless them. Anytime in the conversation, if someone whose name comes up, bless their lives and pass this info along to them. So let's get this interview started. Today, if you were on our live last week, we talked about health, wellness, and fitness and the difference between the two. And I was talking about when my doctor told me I was healthy, but I wasn't well. And I did not know the difference between health, wellness, or fitness. I just thought they were one big thing. And he had me really begin to focus on my mental health. This how I was managing my stress, all those different things. So this is a continuation of that conversation, but a different look. So who do I have sitting here with me? This beautiful sister. So this is one of my Audacious Faith sisters, just so you know. She hails from St. Louis. I will be in St. Louis in about a week and a bit. I'm excited to see all my covenant sisters. So she hails from St. Louis. She has an interesting history, and she'll share a little about what she did and what she does now. But she's an author. She has recorded some CDs. She hosts a blogs where she's able to connect and touch many, many individuals. Now, her commitment is to help people let go so they can experience joy and flow. Think about that for a moment. When she's saying let go, she's saying let go of stress, let go of worry, let go of experiences that are bogging you down so you can experience joy and flow. That's a mastery. So she's working on your mindset. And today we're here to talk about her new book, which is The Freedom to Eat. I love the title, because wouldn't you love to have a relationship with food that's based in abundance and joy and pleasure? That's really what it's about. So I want to introduce my guest, Ms. Jackie Trotman. How are you, honey?
I'm great. Thank you. It's a lot different than Tuesday night. We had tornadoes, sirens were going off before we were signing on. Now the sun is shining behind
I
us.
know. So for those of you who missed us on Tuesday, Jackie was in the middle of hurricane alert. Sirens were going off, losing internet, losing power, but we decided the show must go on. And in the middle of that, that's a sign of a professional. In the middle of that, she jumped on, we did a live, she rocked it, and here we are again tonight. So welcome.
Thank you.
We're a little bit more settled tonight.
We are way settled tonight.
Are you not excited for this book?
I'm very excited for this book.
And how long? I know like books are not like overnight. How long has this book been, you've been birthing this book, if you will?
Well, what's crazy is that the two books I've written were a surprise to me because I didn't set out writing the books. And I had quit my crazy corporate career back in 2008. And I had an entrepreneurial friend that knew I was quitting, and she knew I was going to quit to pursue my dream of writing. And she reached out to me, and it was actually a novel, what I was wanting to write. And she reached out to me and said, Jackie, I'm putting this Mind, Body, Spirit Expo on, and I want you to come speak, and I want you to write a book.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I'll publish it for you. And I've wanted to be a writer for a long, long time. And so I said, well, Caroline, I don't know what to write about. And she said, oh, you could write about a million things. Let's schedule a conference call next Friday and we'll brainstorm what you could talk about or write about. And so I hung up the phone. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I knew I needed to write about the freedom to eat. I mean, the title, The Freedom to Eat, it just came to me because I knew I just wanted to share my story of struggle and how I did not have freedom and I was just under so much bondage for so long. And the conference was August 1st. This was June 1st. And I'm not talking about the next year. It was 2 months. And the book just came through me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. And so we had the conference and she published the book for me. And that's when I found out all this wonderful romantic notion of being a writer and that your books just magically sell, just did not happen. And so I was learning about websites and things and how to get the book out there. And then in the interim, then after that, my husband lost his job. And he had been our sole source for income. And so I started to collect all these. I was in radio sales and management for 22 years.
Wow, okay.
And then I became a marketing consultant with all this internet knowledge I was doing. And all these clients just started coming to me. And it was really a blessing because it provided income to support my family. And then I had just kind of put the freedom to eat on hold. And I received an email one day and it said, Jackie, I read your book. It's just changed my life. And I couldn't wait to see what other books you've written. And I went to your website. And I thought, what? I hadn't done, and this was in 2012. So this is 4 years later.
Okay.
And so it turned out that she was from St. Louis. And I had emailed her and I said, how did you find the book, for one thing? And I had gotten it into Borders, and as we know, Borders closed. And she said, I was with my sons and they had a soccer tournament and it was way across town, far away from where she lived. And she went into a Goodwill store and she saw the book, but she didn't buy it. She hid it. And she left. And she couldn't get the book off her mind. And so she went back and bought the book. Wow. And that was just, to me, I need to put this book out into the world.
And so here we are.
So
that
was quite a long time later.
It's a journey, right?
It is a journey.
And you know, it's interesting because I truly believe that everything is timing, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and people show up at the right time to put us on the course that we're supposed to be on. So a friend calls you and says, I need you to come speak at this event. It's 2 weeks from now. And this is the topic. And yeah, we will brainstorm and you'll come up with your, who knew it would be your book.
Exactly.
That is so cool. I know my first book, I got a call from Miss Susan Sly, and she said, do you want to write a book together? I had never even thought of writing a book, never. And I said, sure. And I said, so when? And she said, this weekend. We're going to write it in a week. I promised someone that we'd have a copy within a week or so. I was like, what? There. Everything is timing, right?
Yes.
And the journey begins. So marketing, advertising, author, and really focusing uh, on food, wellness, diet, and mindset, right? So you know, the book just came out of you, you said. So what was the history that allowed this stuff to just pour out of you?
Well, it went back to my childhood because my father was an alcoholic and he was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I shared a little bit about that the other night, um, but it had started from just we had this wonderful loving relationship when I was very young, up until I was about 7 years old. And then that's when the drinking really started, and he was distant and he was abusive to my mother, and it was traumatic, and I just felt abandoned. And the eating really started then just because food just gave me comfort and it was filling me up with the love that I wasn't getting. Now, I didn't know that at the time. And then later on, just as I, started to become a teenager, I started to look at all the magazines, and my weight was really kind of an issue. And I was comparing myself to others, which I never did before. So then that's when all the real diet madness started.
And it truly is diet madness. So for everyone that's listening, put a comment in the comment section if you have one use food as comfort, because that's really what it is. When something goes wrong, you are hurt. When something is going on in your life that you don't understand, that one of the things that you turn to is food. We call it comfort food, and we call it emotional eating. Secondly, how many of you have had your image of what it means to be an attractive woman shaped by magazines, books, TV shows, models, all those things? And then the madness starts. And I love the way you use madness, because it truly is, it's a madness that we tolerate unknowingly, right?
That's the point, that it's unknowing.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like we are conditioned into this madness by all the things that come at us. So you start the diet madness, and what unfolds from there?
Well, it was just one diet after another. I mean, it was, the Atkins diet and the Scarsdale diet. And then my mother even had amphetamines at the time because my mother struggled with her weight too. And I remember taking one of those, and I mean, we're talking speed. I mean, literally what it was. And I wouldn't sleep for 3 days, and
Oh my gosh.
I'd lose 3 or 5 pounds or something. And then as soon as if that wore off, I was back to the crazy, going back on diets again.
And not to mention the crash and burn that comes with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
What's interesting is you had mentioned in the introduction about relationship with food. And I was actually interviewing some other people that I'd met at a writers conference that they had struggled with food as well. And I'm amazed everywhere I go and I start to talk to people and I tell them the book I've written, then out come their stories
yeah, absolutely.
and their secrets. And when I asked the one woman what her relationship was with food, she went, relationship with food. Like she didn't even put food as being a relationship.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because your book. One of the title of this talk is "What Secret Do You Have?" Right? And it's such a great question because I know when I began to examine this thing called my relationship with food, I realized that I had a relationship that was either comfort and pleasure or pain and punishment, right? So this is what it would look like. And please let us know if this resonates with you in the comment section. Is that I would celebrate with food. I celebrated everything with food. I don't know about anybody else. I celebrated. You smiled at me, it was like celebration. Someone came home, celebrate with food. Go out, celebrate with food. Got a promotion, celebrate with food. Didn't matter what it was, celebrate with food, right? And celebration was the excuse to indulge with no limits, food, drink, wine, all those sorts of things. And then you would realize what you did, or I would realize what I did, and then guilt and self-loathing and punishment would roll in. And then it was the other extreme. And I did this dance, but there was nothing really healthy about my conversation around food. So when we're talking about the relationship, that's kind of what you're talking about, right? When someone says, and most people don't even think that they're in a relationship or a conversation with this thing called food.
Oh, right. And we were talking a little bit offline uh, afterwards the other night about abusive relationships. And what you described is totally an abusive relationship. Because I
Absolutely.
even say in the book, food, which was my comfort, turned on me too.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
was,
that's powerful.
it,
Food, which was my comfort,
yeah.
turned on me too. That's a title. We're gonna put that. Someone's got to write that. Food, which was my comfort, turned on me too. So let's go down that road a little bit. But first, before we do that, I want to highlight something because I'm looking at you, and I've met Jackie. As I said, she's one of my covenant sisters. And when I meet you, you are a size something small, right? You're tall, small, lean woman, and I can't imagine you having a huge weight problem. Now, when I asked you on Tuesday, you said it was about 20 to 30 pounds, and it was the losing and gaining of this 20 to 30 pounds. So we're not talking way overweight. We're talking about that weight that probably half the population struggles with, right? They lose it, they gain it, they lose it, they gain it, they lose it, they gain it. So we're not talking about you having to be 100 pounds overweight most of the time. It was just this little thing.
Right. And then up until the time I got pregnant, then I gained 60 pounds at that point. But I knew it was just going to be baby. So,
Mm-hmm.
but what's interesting is when I do meet women and they'll say to me, "Well, I'm not really overweight. I just need to lose 5 pounds," and it's that perfection thing. And I don't care. I mean, I'm sure there are people that would kill to only have 30 pounds overweight or to look like I did even, before I lost the weight. But it didn't matter emotionally, mentally, the image that we have of ourselves is never true. It's just distorted.
Absolutely. And I love when we were talking, one of the things that you highlighted was it really isn't about the weight, right? The weight is kind of like the symptom to a bigger issue. And so the title, "What Secret Are You Hiding?" is really the weight is a symptom and the secret is often the bigger issue. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was getting the inner, the part of the lasting weight loss and inner peace is getting. It's an inside job. It's not everything that I was focused on was outward. It was outward appearance. It was having the professional job. It was being successful. It was having all the trappings of the American dream that we're supposed to have. and I did no internal work. I mean, I
Yeah.
was disconnected from my mind and my body and my spirit. They were totally fragmented. There was there was no integration of the three.
And
And
yeah, I totally get that. And one of the things that I think for a lot of people is to understand that this external stuff is not an external job, right? I always talk to people about going to the gym, and whatever food you're eating is the tip of the iceberg. The real work around your health, wellness, and fitness, and what motivates you to care for it, is the stuff that we don't talk about. The inside job, as you're talking about. So
I love that you talk about health and wellness, because everything was, and I'm sure people relate with this, is, it's swimsuit season, so it's oh, I've got to go on a diet, or I've got to lose this weight for this, or there's weddings coming up in June, or there's some kind of event, and it's always it's that outward thing again. It's not, I'm doing this because I care about myself, that
mhm.
I want to feel good, as opposed to just look good. And it is feeling good more than it's feeling good mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Yeah, I think the light bulb went off for me when I realized that my how I took care of my health, and not just external, was a reflection of how much I loved and cared and respected myself, right? And that I couldn't just love, care, and respect myself in swimsuit season. And that really wasn't what I was doing. People were going on a diet. It was that to love, respect, honor, and care for myself was a daily activity. It was a minute to minute. It was all those different things. And it was only when I began to get that things began to change. And that's been a 25-year plus, probably 30-year journey for me now, just continuously honoring, respecting, and caring for myself. And I love the fact that you look at it that way, because I think it's not often that people look from the inside out at themselves, if you will.
People lack self-awareness, which is the problem. I mean, we have so much, on social media, all the images. I mean, everything just bombards us from the outside, and it is all inner work. And I think a part of that, you mentioned that we're sisters in audacious faith, and I don't see how you can really exist without tapping into that spiritual side, and having that faith, and having that God spirit within you that you tap into as well, because that's where a lot of that inner peace comes from. And turning this, surrendering these struggles and these cravings and this hunger that we have, and surrendering that, not to food and not raiding the refrigerator, but that it's a spiritual hunger that we have more than anything else.
Oh, that, Jackie, that is so well said, because I think hunger shows up for us physically, and we can identify it physically, so we feed it, right? But oftentimes that hunger that we're feeding with food is not a hunger that's satisfied by food. Sometimes it's a hunger satisfied by prayer. It's a hunger satisfied by love. It's a hunger satisfied by self-reflection and self-awareness. So it's a hunger that's fed by different things, but because food is so tactile and so we can see it, that's what we go to. Whereas nourishing yourself spiritually, nourishing yourself intellectually, emotionally, it's a little bit more challenging.
And
And
I don't know how much people have a sense of what true nutrition is. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm always just floored when I walk into the grocery store and how little real food that
There it
is
is.
there. And I had talked about I was just diagnosed with this reflux, this silent reflux, which is ironic for having the freedom to eat anything. I I can't do that anymore, and I've had to be even more hyper alert on reading labels and looking at things. And I look at the ads on television, and I I just look at the restaurants and the fast food and all these images. And now from a health standpoint and from what I can eat, I'll sit there with my husband and I'll go, well, can't have that, can't have that, can't have that. But I think, how much is that really good for me anyway? And we were just out at Dave and Buster's, and now restaurants are requiring the bigger chains that they have the calorie counts on there. And I'm sitting there reading, going, ribs, 1,837 calories and 450 grams of fat. And I'm reading all this, and my son and my husband are like, "Are you done now? Can we just be finished with this?" But it's that awareness. I don't even know, based on just the health industry and all the maladies that are there with heart disease and diabetes and everything else, of just not being aware of what this food is truly doing to your body.
Right. And I think and what real food is. Like I go to the grocery store and I tell people my grocery shopping is pretty simple because I go into the fruits and vegetable aisle. I go to the fish counter, and then I go to the organic section. I don't buy most things I buy nothing canned really. I buy very few packaged things. And so it's a quick trip. And the rest of it, I'm just like off limits because it's not real. And that's sad because there are like 10 rows in the grocery store that I don't go down, which is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. And
And
this getting to the point of, and that's just being aware, and also finding this inner peace is really finding the time to just be still,
mhm,
to find time to be quiet. We're so connected to our devices and to the world is just noisy.
yeah,
And you really, I talk a lot about the still small voice, and we all have a still small voice in us, and we've been given it to us, and it's the voice that knows the truth. It's our heart, it's our gut, whatever you want to
mhm.
say. And
I often think it's spirit to spirit, right? Like God speaks to our spirit, and that's the place that He connects with us, and it's stillness that allows us to hear it.
oh, absolutely, it's where we connect with it, that guidance. And what happens is that the outside voices drown out that inside voice.
Hmm.
What
And it,
happened to me throughout all my childhood, and being um, just bombarded with all the images and of that you're not good enough, or you're not thin enough, or smart enough, or tall enough, or that. And then also their life events that happen. I just briefly mentioned in the book that when I was 4 years old, I was molested by a neighbor, and I didn't know what to do, and I
mhm,
didn't know what to say, and I knew that it was wrong. But that was kind of the start of my still small voice being stifled, and
yeah,
then not
absolutely.
being able to speak up with my father and say anything with his rages, and being afraid. And so just on all these layers and layers and layers of stuffing led to literally stuffing all those feelings down, and with food and with numbing and
Mhm,
alcohol, and then being unaware that, because I didn't want to feel.
yeah,
And it's scary to do the inner work, and most people don't want to go there, but you have to go there in order to be whole.
So let's talk a little bit about, and I want to read a comment because I see a nice long one from Amma. And Amma says, for a long time, I wanted to lose weight for all the wrong reasons. I got an aha moment when I realized this body is all I have to go out there and fully and fulfill my purpose. If I do not take care of it, then I will not fulfill my purpose.
Mm.
And it's so true, right? And I think when we connect that, I know for myself, when I connect the fact that my body is my temple and it houses my energy, my spirit, all those things, and that it's also the foundation for my creation, right? If I don't take care of all the different aspects of me, my physical being, my emotional being, my spiritual being, and I allow it to break down, I'm not whole. And how many of us walk around, as Emma says, not whole, attempting to fulfill purpose, which requires us to be whole, right? And so what you're really talking about is us looking at all the facets of ourselves so we can come to the world complete and full. I wanna ask you, and by the way, I'm talking with Jackie Trotman. She is the author of The Freedom to Eat, and there's 10 secrets to lasting weight loss and inner peace. And we're going to touch on the 10 secrets in a moment. But before we do, I want to talk about, because you also share that you struggled with an eating disorder. And one of the things I found really fascinating, and we were talking a bit offline, was that there isn't probably a woman out there who hasn't done a diet, who's not preoccupied with, weight and so on and so forth in some way, shape, or form until she does the inner work, really. And one of the questions I was really curious with is, what has it that some people go to one area where they end up with an eating disorder, and other people will just stay stuck in that cycle of yo-yo dieting, or some people get that they get released. Are you saying that it's the inner work that allows you to be free of that not has you go along that continuum? Because you know people who end up with eating disorders, they aren't much different than most people who are struggling. It's just a tip, right? It's a tipping point.
Well, I think it's interesting the word eating disorder, because when you and I talk about this crazy thinking and being held hostage to food, I would call that an eating disorder. As
It,
opposed to,
yeah.
I mean, seriously, but we don't talk about it that way. And well, the mind is a very tricky thing, because I did end up being bulimic. And in and I would back up to, on this health thing. I think what happens, and especially for me when I was young, and this was happening through my 13 until I was 49 years old. I didn't have really health issues. You eat all this junk and you do all this stuff and you do all this abuse to your body and you can get away with it. But then once you get older and you start really understanding and you gain some wisdom, you understand why you want to treat yourself with loving kindness. And for the bulimia for me was because it was another diet alternative. Like, I would have never admitted to you, to anybody. I mean, didn't tell anyone I was bulimic. For me, I read it in the magazines, and it was talking about binging and purging. And the word purge is kind of and I forgot exactly how I have it worded in the book, but it's like to undo some uh, transgression almost.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what a perfect example. If I'm going to binge and drink 3 margaritas and have 3 baskets of chips, that I'm going to purge from this horrible sin I committed through throwing up. And that's, my mind was just justifying, oh, great, this is my answer to Friday and Saturday nights, and I can eat whatever I want. And then I also justified, I was in my 30s when I started, and most people that are bulimic are in their teens or they're in college. And I'm like, I'm acting kind of young and hip because I'm bulimic. I mean, crazy. But that was, I mean, that was my thinking and how crazy that was. And the only reason I stopped was because I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I stopped drinking caffeine. I stopped drinking alcohol. I wasn't going to do anything to harm my baby.
Isn't that now that is some powerful words, Jackie? So, and so many people do this. It's okay to harm me.
Mm.
At the minute I'm carrying another life that's important, I have to stop and I have to do all the right things, right? That is so profound what you said. And I think the other thing that you said is that, that crazy cycle dialogue that most of us have is a disorder. And I think it's really powerful for us to begin to look at it that way, because our conversation was all disorders, abuse, all these things run a continuum. And just because you're not over here doesn't mean you're not on the continuum. And it's so how far along the continuum are you? And I remember when my doctor was telling me about, Suzanne, you're healthy, but you're not well. He was really saying you're sliding along that continuum, and it's all going to collide. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your fitness. It's going to affect your wellness. Right now, your wellness is all out of sort. But if you keep going down that continuum, you're going to end up over there. And I will end up with a dis-ease or a disorder. Right? But dis-ease and disorder doesn't just pop up one day and you justify it. It's that slow, easy progression that when you get down on the further end, you're so far gone that you don't even notice that you're way down on the other side.
Well, and it's just like gaining weight too, right? All of a sudden you wake up one morning and you go, oh my gosh, my clothes are.
Who is this?
And it just happened, like it happened overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It happened. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to gain weight than it is to lose the weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you just reverse that, and once you do start eating healthy and you exercise and you get rest and you take care of yourself, and secret 3 that I talk about is letting go of judgments. And one of the biggest ones is the scale. And once you're not held hostage to the scale and weigh every 3 times a day or every day and judge yourself on that, and you forget about that, then the same thing happens.
Yeah.
You gained weight. All of a sudden, your clothes become loose.
Yeah. Now, do you own a scale?
Nope.
Because I don't. I haven't owned a scale. I haven't owned a scale since I was like 27 years old. I will not bring one into my house. I will not let one in my house. My doctor weighs me and I'm like, good for you. Are you happy? And I'm like, okay. And then I go about my business. So most time, I don't know how much I weigh. I'm just connected to how I look and feel in the mirror. Right. So weight is not going to make or break my day. That's just a free tip for everyone that's watching. So, and I really want to highlight this. So in your book, you have 10 secrets. Yeah. And these are not 10 diet secrets for everyone who's listening. They're not 10 quick fixes. They're not 10 go out and just do this. These are 10 things that are really focused on the inner work. Yeah. So if someone was listening and they were like, okay, so I want to start the work, you got me percolating, I'm thinking that maybe I need to change, what would be 1 or 2 secrets that you could just give them that they could just start maybe thinking about something a little different, or just stir them? I like to disrupt the audience. So if you could just disrupt the audience and say, here's a secret.
I'm thinking, because we did a couple last night, so I'm trying, or Tuesday night.
You can do the same. You can do the same too. They're different people.
Oh.
I'm looking. They're different people.
Well, and it's still huge. The first secret that builds on all the other ones is awareness. It's just awareness. I commend you. If you're still here and you're watching our conversation or listening to our conversation, and if this is resonating with you, um, I'm so happy. Uh, and awareness, really, in all areas of your life, is is just key. It's living your life and paying attention to everything. I mean, for one thing, being aware of how you talk to yourself, how you
Mhm.
see yourself. I mentioned your tone of voice because I'll catch myself if I say something to my son and I'll think, oh, that wasn't a kind tone of voice that I used,
That
or
wasn't loving, huh?
sounded harsh, or um, just your tone of voice, how you talk to yourself, and awareness as far as food. If your body, are you hungry? A lot of times we don't hydrate enough, so it could be you're thirsty. If you're
Mhm.
thinking about, what you're feeling hungry, maybe you really need to get a drink of water. And just awareness of what food that you do eat. I know for me, I do a lot better if I eat more protein and fruits and vegetables and higher carb alternatives, like brown rice or wraps. I've found these wraps that are hugely high fiber and they're great and they're low calorie. I mean, I don't count calories. I don't count anything anymore, but I know that I feel better when I'm eating healthy food,
In,
and
in,
just being
and
aware of that.
And I think, what you're talking about in terms of awareness is so important because our body talks to us all the time. And I know, I tell people, I love some cheese. I love bread and butter. And when I eat them, they talk to me, right? They kind of scream and yell and punch at me.
Mm.
So I choose them rarely. And because it's that self-awareness. And I think what you're talking about is being connected to self, right? And tuning in to what our bodies are telling us. And that's like, I'm tired, I'm thirsty. You just ate that, but we don't like it, right? And really listening. And it's a simple thing, but we don't do it. And then we people pop tongues and all those things to numb the awareness so they can go do it again. One I can't remember who said it, but they said that pain is an important signal that the body has. And when we use painkillers and all these things to numb it, basically we're just stopping the communication of the body, and the body's trying to alarm you to there's a place you need to pay attention to. So,
And
oh,
I was going to say with awareness too, and what the 10 secrets and the lasting weight loss and inner peace is it's more than just physical weight, but it's the emotional and the spiritual weight that we carry. And the awareness is also, who are you associating with? Who do you
ah,
hang around with? What relationships do you have? Are the girlfriends that you have, do they build you up or do they tear you down? It's just being aware of everything. I mean, your conversations with people, does this does this feed not only my body, but does this relationship feed my soul?
and it's so important because it's almost like a cycle, right? Because we're in an environment that doesn't nurture us, we're not feeling good, so we go nurture ourselves with food versus addressing the environment, and then we feel bad because we nurture ourselves with the wrong it's like this vicious cycle. And I think what you're talking about is being aware of the things that start that downward spiral into a fact, and interrupting the start versus dealing with the finish. So,
That's
wow.
why I write on my blog about joy and flow now is, for me, what I want to ask myself every day is, what does this bring me joy?
Ah,
From not only from what I'm eating, what I'm doing, who I'm associating with, even there's a chapter also in the book on clutter, and
Yeah.
letting go of clutter. And we just moved, and I got rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and had to go through my mother's stuff, my father-in-law's stuff, and just letting go of the things that aren't necessary, that don't bring me joy. Um, so that's also part of the awareness. I mean, awareness is huge.
It's huge, and I think, I don't think people have full awareness of what, like, letting go physically, because I always remind myself, and when people join my mastermind, we do a whole section of your physical environment is a reflection of your internal environment,
Yeah.
right? And they parallel each other. And I can walk into my office, and if my office is in disarray, I'm like, Suzanne, what's going on? It's really a reflection that I'm in disarray and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So it's like, stop, clean your desk, declutter your space, and take some time decluttering yourself, and then we can start again. And so that clutter piece, if that's going to be a powerful chapter in your book. So, um, first of all, I want to thank you and congratulate you for putting this information out there, because it's a step, it's a breath of fresh air, because it's not about the 10 tips to lose weight and whatever. It's not about the 10 secrets to overnight whatever. It is really the 10 secrets to doing the work for lasting weight loss and inner peace, which is so cool. So if someone wants to, and I know there's probably people just jumping at the bit to say, okay, how do I get more information? Let everybody know what you're giving away, and then I'll tell them what they need to do.
Okay, the two things I'm giving away.
Just lay it on us.
Well, if you go to my website, you can get the first two chapters and the table of contents and some testimonials for free from the Freedom to Eat book. And then what I'm also going to be offering is a free 5-week book study.
A free 5-week book study. So let me help you out. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. First of all, I'm going to ask you to bless a life, because I know this topic is one that touches so many men and women. So bless a life. 2 is, in the comment section, I want you to write freedom in caps, bold, so we can see them. So freedom, because it's the freedom to eat, right? So you want freedom. So type freedom in the comment section. What that'll allow is, we're going to make sure that if you type freedom, that you get connected, so you can receive those 2 chapters complimentary, as Jackie kind of puts her information into the world. The second thing you're going to get, for those who take action, Jackie's doing a book study. Now, I've done book studies with authors before. They are amazing, because when you do a book study with the author that wrote the book, you get the behind the scenes information on the book. You get the backstory, you get the backdrop, but you also get questions answered and more information. So it's like the book and a course. You definitely want to get the book study, but you got to take action. So put freedom. And then once you put freedom in the comment section, invite a friend to write freedom in the comment section so they can be blessed. And why I'm so passionate about this information is because, people have been doing diets for way too long. People have been hitting the gym for way too long. And not that hitting the gym is a bad thing, but the mindset to which you go to the gym in, the mindset to which you eat with, the mindset to which you open your day is the difference. And what Jackie is offering you is insight into the mindset that has allowed her to lose weight and have inner peace, and not count calories, and not have a scale, and not be obsessive about, whether she ate a cracker or not. Right?
It's just so freeing to have all that chatter be gone.
Be gone.
And once you do the inner work and you do connect with God's spirit, then you have that peace that surpasses all understanding. And sure, I mean, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I have doubts. I have fears, but it's not. It's not this debilitating churning uh, anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember when I started this journey, and I'll just give you a little bit of insight because this is so on point with what you're saying. Um, for the first year or so, I don't know about you, but I was like, oh my God, like, is this going to come back? Is this weight going to come back? Is it going to, oh my goodness, is there something I need to do? And not realizing that I was doing what I needed to do, right? But because diets are so obsessive, they're so like stop and start and end finite, that I was always like, it's going to come to an end, not realizing that I wasn't doing anything that was going to end. I had begun to create a lifestyle of health and wellness. And it was every single day versus 30 days or 90 days. It was every day. And so because I had shifted habitually and thinking on what and all the different pieces, I don't worry anymore. And I do have that inner peace because it's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? It's a different way, it's a different experience.
And it's like you said, it's a lifestyle. It just become it's freedom. I mean,
Freedom.
freedom at its best.
Ultimate.
Well, and then what the last one of the chapters too is just really becoming the person God created you to be.
Yes.
And we can't do that when we're all caught up in this junk. I mean,
And
preoccupation with appearance and approval and not enoughness, and that's not what we were created for.
And I want to remind everybody as we close that we were created in God's image, therefore we are perfect, just so you know. And this journey is about self-care. It isn't about fixing anything. It's about caring for what we've been blessed with. That's really what Jackie's inviting you for on this journey. And what she's doing is she's giving you her secrets, her tips, her tools, so that you can find your inner peace and you can lose the weight, not worry about it, and actually enjoy the journey, right?
Yes.
And isn't it a beautiful journey when you actually embrace it? It is. You know, I tell people it's really about falling madly in love with who you are. Madly.
And the world just opens up. I mean, for me to meet you, the incredible people that I'm connecting with now, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, because you know, magic attracts magic, right? Positivity attracts positivity. Love attracts love, and that's who we become. So absolutely. So for everyone that's listening, we have been speaking to author Jackie Trotman. The book is The Freedom to Eat: 10 Secrets to Losing Weight, to lasting weight loss and inner peace. Put freedom in the comments section so you can get access to the 2 first chapters complimentary of Jackie. And for those who take action, the possibility of being part of the book study with none other than the author herself. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And I gotta go order my book because it's live now. I got my link. We're gonna go because I got my free chapters. I read them. And so now I'm going to move on because I'm sure there's going to be some new tips and tools that I'll be able to embrace and bring on my journey with me. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We will be here next week, Thursday, and I may have a surprise guest. Stay tuned. Thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll talk to you next Thursday.